Very much.
Well, the prose is extraordinarily elegant. Sorry, you had a question, sir. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hello.
When you write a book or a short stories as opposed to writing lyrics, do you use a different creative process, and is there one aspect you prefer over the other?
Okay, I'm surprised by how similar the process is, and again, it involves a lot of walking. I really think that there are a lot of people who say writing is about putting your bottom on the seat. I think actually writing is about getting onto your feet and walking with it in your head. For a story song, it's rather similar to writing a short story. It's just shorter and it has to be sung, and so the beats have to fall in the right place. For a song where David's going to sing first person, again, that has some of the same qualities that you need to write fiction, in that I need to voice him as a character almost. It's a sort of empathetic act to try and see the world through someone else's eyes, and I suppose the difference is that he's not a fictional character, he's someone who's readily available and who I know very well.
Well, no, it's interesting you talk about walking, because my wife, who is very sad that she can't be here tonight, apparently there are writers now who have a treadmill, and then their desk is...
What a great idea!
On top of it. Well, I thought it might be good for some people, but I'd have a hard time with that. But apparently,
the dog would like it.
So you get,
Yeah, that's a very, very good idea. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, well, no, Jan Martel apparently, who's yeah, and I'd never heard of it, and I just thought, my God.
But our dog would be heartbroken. Sits patiently waiting for me to run out of inspiration.
No, that's good. And so I'm just wondering about the writing. Have you been writing since you were very young? Because
I don't remember starting.
You're a brilliant writer.
Thank you.
Well, no, I mean, you could tell, I'm sure all of you, if you haven't read the book, just that passage that was read, this is remarkably accomplished and affecting prose. I think it was just brilliant. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. So are we, Barry? Are we ready to bring David in or not? Yes. No. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, David Gilmour. Are you okay there? Is your mic on?
Very comfortable.
Okay, good.
You need to plug your iPhone in.
Oh, there's another jack there somewhere. I think you might be sitting on. David, I have a question for you. What's it like being married to a fiction writer? You bring your friends home and tell them, be careful what you say?
Anything that they say may be used in evidence or is in inspiration. This is true. I get to hear every paragraph.
You're the first reader?
I am the first reader, generally speaking. I am either read it or I am read to.
That's excellent.
And I suppose I'm a sounding board. I don't know how good at it I am, but that's...
Well, the results would speak to everybody pulling their weight, as far as I'm concerned. And there's no jealousy. There's no professional jealousy. I remember reading Edna O'Brien's. No, that's good. That's brilliant. And you dedicate your books to him. I think that's really nice.
Well, actually, this one's dedicated to my father. So it was dedicated to David, and then I changed it because my father died once.
Oh my God.
It's not funny. Awful laughing when things are not funny things.
Well, no, it's interesting because one of the things that I thought you nailed in this book was the male experience of childbirth. So I wonder, David, did you have some input into that? Or Polly, were you just imagining that? Because
I think Polly sort of lives in character. I don't know quite how she does it. She walks it and thinks it, and examines the people who are going past, and it comes from her very, very fertile imagination. I can't say that I'm very helping it.
The birth in this book is not at all like any birth that you've ever witnessed, I don't think, because it was a hospital
witnessed a few.
Well, no, but I thought it really got me. I mean, you know, one of my children is here tonight, and you know, it never failed to affect me, and that initial connection is so amazing, and so I thought that was I thought it was extremely well done, but I just wondered, okay, you know, was that something that was daunting to you to take that on?
To write a birth from a male point of view, no more than anything. I mean, writing from a male point of view, which I've done in several stories before this book, it doesn't feel daunting any more than writing as any different person.
Right. Well, so does David say, you know what?
Do you know the most daunting bit? And I don't know how to. There's no polite way of talking about this. There's a moment when Julian, in his grief, finds the cast-off jumper of his former love, and I put off writing the scene for a very, very long time, and he I wish I hadn't started this.
That's quite all right. Don't worry about it. You don't have to go to the end of that.
Okay.
But again,
Going back to where she
you know.
started.
But so on that occasion, David, I think, was in the studio and wasn't available, so I had to ask another male friend whether he had any advice, you know, because I finally had to write the scene of masturbation with this jumper, and he said, "Make it cashmere."
Picky.
And that was Damien Barr, who you may know.
Of course, no, that's excellent. So now, you guys work together. How does that work?
Well, I managed to sort of strong-arm Polly into helping me write lyrics and to ultimately pretty much take over the job by getting her at a weak moment and pushing her until, because she has a way with words.
Yeah, obviously.
And as a writer.
And so, you know, again, we're talking about collaboration now. What comes first, the music or the words?
Well, the words come after the music, generally speaking.
Right, so you just lay down
song,
some music and say, okay.
There's one song which is the one louder than words on the last Pink Floyd album a year or so ago that Polly had written. She'd heard all these pieces of music, but she didn't know which one it was going to fit to. And she wrote some words which sort of serendipitously just fit amazingly well on the song, getting louder than words.
So did you write poetry at some?
All my life, but very secretly.
Well, it's not a secret anymore.
No, I've told everyone that.
And so does it change though? And so you've written a book between the boards. You can't do anything with it. So now you write a song. David's up there on stage, comes back and says, you know what? How about if you know? I'm not sure if that's quite right. I mean, is there an evolution in the song that there is not in, you know, once you've published a book, you can't really go back and say,
No.
oh man, you know what? I
Yeah.
just wish I'd done that.
Polly's process of walking and thinking and being ready to type the moment she gets back continues pretty much into the lyrics, so that I very rarely have to say a word, luckily.
Not bad.
She just seems to nail it every time. And we have this wonderful moment where we pop into a recording studio room that we've got next to the house, and we just sit there and we try them. And you know, occasionally you've got to adjust a phrase a little bit so it fits the scansion of that the music dictates. And those are truly kind of magical moments when you have this eureka moment. You say, God, it just fits. And and sometimes when you read the words before you've sung them, they have a certain meaning to them. And when you attach the two together, stitch them tightly together, they take on a different meaning. That it's a magical thing.
Well,
But it's really, really exciting the first time.
Yeah.
That you actually hear the words coming back and see, God, they just fit like a glove, and they enhance something that was already within the music.
I think David should play a clip of something to show what it is he gives me, because it isn't that
okay with that,
just...
people, right? Yeah, okay.
Because what tends to happen is he will put a track onto my iPod, and I don't write just a piece of music. I get him to scat a melody, and quite often it's like interpreting tongues, because it is as though the words are just lurking under the surface, and the only way to really illustrate that is for him to play one of the things that he put, one of the demos, I think.
Which one, Molly?
Doing any tongue. And,
Three versions of that.
we'll do one with the scat on it.
This one should have the scatter, yes. Where's my sound engineer son? Are you sorted out, Gabriel? Well, it's working. I think it's working. Maybe turn it up a little bit if you know where the volume is from.
I don't.
Sorry, technology, we're getting there. Don't worry.
I'll carry on
We're more
chatting,
slick
shall
than
I?
as usual. Hang on, here we go. We're going to start right away.
Is that at your end?
What has he done? Yeah, it's not working. I'll stay up. See, it's just...
Anyway,
Okay, so that's what I get. But without all the glitches.
it's like speaking in tongues, and Molly has to decipher what she thinks might be being said there.
But as a writer, that satisfaction is much more immediate, isn't it? I mean, you know, suddenly you put the words into that, and it's there. Whereas you write a book, and
Yeah, no,
who knows what's going to happen to that?
I have to be very careful because David gets quite attached to words, and so for example, there was a song called, I think it was Today. There was just a line I just couldn't get, and so I just filled in a wide Sargasso sea full of shit, and sort of just thought, oh, I'll rewrite that bit later. But I was desperately excited about hearing him sing it to see whether the general thing would work. So he sang this thing, and he sang Wide Sargasso, and then he got really attached to the Wide Sargasso. No, I think that's really good. We should keep it. No, let's not. Let's think of something else there.
What's the vote? Should we get the white Sargasso sea full of shit? See, darling.
So, how about you? You've had a spectacular career.
Yeah.
Well, no, but you know, you getting tired of it? No, but you know, I was talking to Barry. I was talking to your son. I mean, you spend a lot of time on the road.
No, I don't spend much time on there. This is nothing. I'm spending a month now. I spent a month before Christmas, a month last summer, and another month. That's a total of 4 months of about a year. And I haven't done it for 10 years, so it's hardly overwork. And it's great. I'm really enjoying it right at the moment. It's fantastic. But I have just spent sort of 10 years, not exactly in hibernation, but slowly, very slowly, working on the songs that have become this album. And
Yeah.
last time I vowed that I would I would get another album out within 2 or 3 years. It wouldn't take quite as long as it had the previous time, but of course I blew that. And again, I am vowing that it won't take 10 years.
And the performances, I mean, you still get the same satisfaction out of that?
Yep, it's terrific. It's been really good. We've just, we're playing.
Packed houses everywhere, right? I mean, these are, both the concert here are sold out, I think, right?
Yeah.
And do you travel with David normally? Or
Yeah,
not?
yeah.
Always?
Always. I think, in fact, we do it in the school holidays so that the kids can travel too. Although they're all so grown up now that school holidays have become irrelevant for most of them.
Yeah, all these little bits of tour that we're doing are in school holidays. So
But that must make it a little bit easier to take then, right? The traveling, to have your family with you.
Yeah, it's lovely. They're lovely, aren't you, children?
That's right. Gabriel said his birthday was going to be between Poland and somewhere else, so they've got it all sorted out.
Yes, that's somewhere else.
How are we doing for time, guys? Are we... Fran, where are we at?
There's, 5-10 minutes.
Okay, good. What about, do any of you have any questions? Sir?
Hi, first of all, thank you for doing this. David,
It's my pleasure.
When putting a set list together from the vast career you've had, both solo and Big Boy, how do you sequence all that and say, what's the process for doing it?
It's very, very difficult. I mean, you could start off in any number of ways, and you just write lists out until they start looking like something. Polly had a lot of input into the set lists that we did this time. I don't know, we just sit there until it, and then you try them out in rehearsal, and sometimes you realise that one song just doesn't naturally flow into another one. And there are a few tricks of the trade that you use to work out how to build up to a crescendo at the end, all that sort of showbiz stuff, which helps.
Thank you very much.
Sir?
Hi, David. What has changed about your songwriting from the days of the Pink Floyd to Rattle and Lock?
You tell me. I just, I write pieces of music. Sometimes I struggle painfully through the lyric writing process, or I swayed Polly to.
Are you happy to
help
be rid
out.
of that? Is that something, that,
Sorry.
was the lyrics, was that a problem for you, or?
I've written quite a few lyrics of which I'm proud and I think are great, but Polly's method of walking and thinking hasn't so far clicked into gear for me.
But what I did this time, which I think did work, was I shut him in a room with a piece of paper and no internet, and said he was coming out to be written something himself, because I don't want to enable him to never write a lyric
I
again.
had a little hatch made in the door. Occasionally food.
Rattle that lock.
She'd say, how many words have you written? I say, well, 3 since 7 o'clock this morning.
And so, do you always have music on the go? I mean, are there little things
Yes.
rattling around in your head?
Constantly, yes. I have hundreds and hundreds of little morsels of music, which I re-listen to again when a project is finished, to see if there are any that inspire me to start working. And the work is a bit like, pushing a snowball down a hill. It gathers its momentum. It becomes, I'm very lazy at the beginning, and I've become more obsessive as time ticks on. I become more and more involved with the new music.
And so when the words are right, then that must be immensely satisfying for you, because here's this music that's been kicking around in your head, and then suddenly it does have that polish to it. That it's like cutting a diamond.
It's alchemy. It's alchemy. There's songs that I have had no real idea how to put into words what it's about, let alone write the lyrics. Polly will just suddenly nail
And Polly, do you have sort of ideas going in, or do you just play off the music?
Just off the music, really. I suppose the one song that I really wanted, where I had an idea before I'd ever heard a piece of music, was the title track of Rattle That Lock, because I had been thinking a lot about protest and the fact that it's very important that people feel free to protest and in fact have the right to protest, and that even if you can't change something, that you're going to feel better if you do actually just go and shake your fist at something you disagree with. And so I knew I wanted to write a song on that subject, but I think that's the only one where there's been something I've been burning to say. The rest has all been prompted very much by the music.
Matthew, yes?
Yeah, I'd like to say, first of all, it's bad cliche, but you two do make beautiful music together. Thank you for that. And I'm wondering if, Polly, do you ever weigh in on a chord progression, or do you have any musical background at all, or would that be too cheeky?
Oh, yes. She's distantly related to Felix Mendelssohn.
And rather closely related to Ronaldo Hahn. No,
You've been asked that before, I think.
no. He just won't use my guitar solos, and I don't know. Really annoying.
Yes, Ben.
Well, I want to say that Faces of Stone is my favorite song on the album, and it's my understanding that you wrote that one.
Mostly. Polly helped a little bit.
But Yellow Dress is my second favorite. And it amazes me, a lot of people have a hard time keeping a marriage together, and the fact that you two work so well together is just, it's brilliant.
Yeah, bravo. Congratulations, guys.
It's a joy and a privilege.
Sir, then.
I saw the last 4 shows the past week in LA, and thank you for that. It was so great to be on the 3 shows. And I'm curious, would you consider...
Hardcore.
Yeah. Would you consider playing Echoes in Pompeii?
I greatly doubt it. I don't think I could pull Echoes off without Rick.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry. I mean, we've talked about this, but it's a piece for the 2 of us to play on, and I've scrubbed that off my list now.
Oh, Echoes, I tell you. I was telling Matthew.
But I can see why you think it would be a good one to do in Pompeii, and I agree with you. But yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
You spoke about, Polly, how your creative process and lyrics. Do you have the same feedback on Polly's work?
Well, as I said before, she does read to me, and at every stage of her writing process during a book, and
I plagiarised you in this one, in fact. I stole one of his lyrics. Very helpful of you.
One last question, sir, at the back there.
Yes, good evening. My name is Gord. I just drove in from Ottawa, and it was well worth the trip. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. Polly, behind every great man is a great woman. And my question for both of you is, I'd love to know what type of music you are both listening to these days.
I've been so busy listening to myself and being obsessed about every note, every chord change, every little bit, and then with Polly's help, putting the words on them. That I haven't listened to anything for the last 2 or 3 years except my own stuff.
And Nick Cave's brilliant album.
Nick Cave's last album, Push the Sky Away, was a couple of years ago. That was kind of like the old days for me, where when I was young, you used to buy an album and you would obsess on that one album till you knew every word, every note of it for months, until you gradually cross-faded into another one, and then Nick Cave's on.
And Polly, what about you? Who do you read?
Who do I read? Oh God, I read everyone. I can't answer who do I read. At the moment I'm reading a new novel by Sarah Moss. I don't know if she's published here. It's very good. Who else have I got with me? I've just read Jill Dawson's new one. Also, I don't know if she's
It was
published
about
here.
Patricia Highsmith, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I love Jill Dawson.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's a fantastic book. She is, I think, one of the most underrated British writers.
No, I agree. But she doesn't pick easy things to write about.
No, and the other thing I think is that those of us who know her, her name is Ruby, how much more success would she have as Ruby Dawson?
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, well, those are your books, Tom. So, I think we have to wrap it up. Yes, Fran, sir, the Australian guy. Let's give him another question. Go ahead. This guy walked all the way from Australia.
I managed to get tickets for all 11 shows, so thank you to both of you for
How did you do that?
I sat up all night, I was waiting, watching, and as soon as I hit the button, refresh, I just get great, next city, and I was up all night doing that, the announcement, and I just, since you put out that last album that you worked on together, just thought it was the most beautiful thing, and I just had to start saving money, annual leave, wherever you were going, I had to be there. So it's just fantastic. But thank you so much for the music and for the words. I'm just wondering, like with the process of writing musically, like your natural style is very it triggers things that are very visual to me, like the spaces and areas, and it's very feeling as well. And I just wondered, like, do you have a feeling that you will sort of try to explain, and Polly might work off that kind of direction?
I can't analyze it or explain it. There's little tiny moments that I capture, and these days I capture them with an iPhone from wherever it comes. On Rattle, it's a noise on a train station in France. Otherwise, it's a piece of music that I start singing in my head or strumming on a guitar. And once you've got the tiny moment, it can be less than 10 seconds long. You think that is the thing, put it away and come back to it at some point. And then you hit the perspiration where you work and work and work to try and turn it into something. But there's no clever plan. I have no idea what I'm doing, basically. It's just.
And often Phil Manzanera is the person who works with David and will listen to these moments and be able to say, that one, come on, think about that one.
Phil has on 2 tracks on this album, in fact, on Rattle, Lock and Today, he had listened through just to piles of my little tiny musical snippets and joined them together and completely disparate pieces that were not, in my mind, connected, and they became those 2 songs. So he's an invaluable asset.
And the words feed in, so like that line about the sea, like the sea meets the shore and soothes it with the song. I mean, it's just like that whole track. When I first heard that, it was just like life, like just the moments. And I think like there's a beauty in that simplicity. Like all of the words in that are primary school words in that line, but it's just the images.
Thank you.
It's beautiful and works really well.
Claire, last question. Go ahead.
I'm lucky enough to know you both a little bit.
Who are you? Sorry.
I've always thought about, I've often pondered and been interested in the sort of alchemy of your relationship. But one of the things I've thought about a lot recently is trust. Because it seems to me that you have, in order to achieve the extraordinary things you achieve together as artists and independently as artists, there has to be an enormous amount of trust between you, which is of course a key element of a great marriage. But it's trusting your own creative process, it's trusting someone else's creative process, it's trusting on a bad day that it will still be there, it's finding it on a good day. Is that, am I right? Am I along the right lines?
Yeah, I've had to trust David. When he first got me to write lyrics, I didn't intend to write lyrics. I was actually ill in bed, and this was, and I was only a child. He was in the grown-ups were in the studio, and he would come back in the evening and play this music, and I had a temperature of 104, and I would just he'd say, I just need some words to sing, and I would be lying there with this fever and sort of saying whatever first came into my head, and then once the fever had dropped, I realised he'd been writing it down and and they were starting to sort of form into verses, and I thought, oh God, this is actually going to be awful for me, because it was the early 90s, and he said, oh, I'd really like you to write these lyrics, you know, and I thought, oh God, you know, everyone's going to say that I'm Yoko Ono. And at the time, that seemed like a really terrible thing to be, and I've thought about that since. I thought, actually, I'd really love to be Yoko Ono. She's a woman in her 80s, she's producing great art, she's never stopped producing art, she has no inhibitions. What a great woman to aspire to being. Why would I care if someone said Yoko Ono? But back then, you know, it felt really, really tough. And Pink Floyd being a very male kind of thing, with a very male, I thought, audience, it just seemed like sticking my neck well above the parapet. And so David promised that, you know, that if I wrote the lyrics, he wouldn't put my name on them, that he would, you know, pay me, hooray, but he wouldn't put my name on them. And then when the album was finished, he said, I'm sorry, I lied to you, I am going to put your name on them. And I was sort of horrified, but he said, you know, just trust me on this. You will be glad that you've been credited for your work, because it feels awful to not be credited for your work, and you just need to trust me. And he was right, because now all these years later, I would hate to not have my name on them. And please, call me Yoko Ono.
All right, thank you, Polly. Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody in the audience. Thanks for coming out tonight. And I really have to say thanks to George Gibson from Bloomsbury, who may have left already to get a flight, and to Trish Bunnett from Penguin Random House here, who really put this together.
Thank you, George. It's a beautiful show.
And so Polly will sign copies of her book over there where Trish is, and I think they've got some kind of system set up where they put your name on.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys can go ahead right now. They'll put your name on a post-it note and stuff, so that you don't have to spell the weird name. Here, I'll take that. The weird method of Sandra that you have to pronounce your name, and I'll catch up to you guys.